Welcome folks to the 2015 ASA here in Newberry, Florida. I am with definitely not a stranger to the Bow Junkie cameras or the picture taking that we do, Mrs. Cara Kelly, no longer Cara Fernandez. Wanted to do a What's a Pro shooting segment for all of you female archers that are out there and struggling to try to find your setup. A lot of the female archers that we see and talk to are being directed in certain directions, whatever their husband's doing, whatever their boyfriend's doing. And I wanted to get it straight from a pro, straight from a former ASA Shooter of the Year, IBO Shooter of the Year. There's nobody better than Mrs. Cara Kelly. So Cara, let's go through your entire setup. First of all, let's start. What bow did you decide to run with this year?
Well, for ASA, I'm running the FX.
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing that is it's very similar to what I'm going to be running for IBO, which
okay.
would be the Nitrum Turbo. You know, peep angle's pretty similar. You know, not a big adjustment in terms of axle, things of that nature. But this bow shoots fantastic for me. Fits me better.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I think it's a favorite amongst everybody that's ever picked up the FX. I think it's one of those bows that may not get a lot of attention like it should, but it's one that I've fallen in love with over the course of the last year. So I decided to run with it this weekend. So running it at a whopping 42 pounds with my same arrow I was shooting last year, my Easton ACE 670s, with only a 60 grain point in front, so it only weighs 220 grains. Now, you may wonder why on earth are you shooting a 220 grain arrow when, you know, everybody's about let's shoot more poundage, let's put more point weight up front, let's get that speed by picking up the poundage. Well, I had the shoulder injury. Right. And I would have to say I'm probably 95% better than I was last year at this time. Okay. So it's come a long way in the last year and a half, but it's not quite there yet. Okay. And I don't want to be back in a situation where I'm pulling, you know, 48, 49 pounds. You know, I do have a heavier arrow and, you know, be running into an issue with my shoulder again. So the fact is sometimes we don't think about that. We don't think about as women, oh, let's put down the poundage, let's not kill ourselves pulling 50, 60 pounds.
And then they get discouraged.
Yeah, and a lot of women do shoot, you know, 59, 58 pounds just to get the speed that they need and with a heavier arrow. You know, we had a long conversation last night about, you know, why do you shoot a small diameter arrow and why do you do that? Yeah. Well, for me, it flies truer downrange. And I think for most women, you know, we find that our sight tapes get larger and larger and larger in the 3D world. And, you know, we want to shoot those bigger arrows. But, you know, you're losing a yard or two, you know, out at 50 yards by not shooting a small arrow. So I find, especially from the north, being a Yankee and coming down here to sunny Florida, that I haven't judged outside. So I want to shoot an arrow that's going to fly truer for me out at 50 yards. And the ranges this weekend were extremely long, extremely challenging. So I know that I picked up a lot of points by shooting this setup. Okay, all right. What are you doing for veins on that? I see some tiny little veins. Little micro lasers. Boney makes them. They're the mini, tiny, itty bitty ones they make. So you can only get so many colors. Gotcha. Okay. But they're the teeny ones. All right. Yep. What are you doing for strings and cables on this? Strings and cables are custom, homemade. From Dad. From Dad. Okay. Back to what we were rocking and rolling with prior. Okay. Love them. You know, they hold up great. Sure. And I mean, are you 8190, 452? Do you know? 452X. Okay. BCY. Right. Yep, we're on BCY. What are you doing there for your peep size out here? You know, with what we've got going on. You know, I run a little bigger peep than probably most. I want to see that whole housing, and I'm running a 31X31 on the XL site, but I run a yellow. Super peep through the center, a clarifier, and that works out really good with my glasses, and then I only run a 3-power Brian's custom lens in the front. Okay, so you are rocking the glasses during the event, not contacts? Yeah, not contacts, which I came down here not knowing what I was going to do. I came down here not knowing if I was going to run with one contact. Funny story. 20/20 vision in my left eye. My right eye's shot. Imagine that, you know, after 20-some years of shooting. But yeah, so I have to wear a contact in my one right eye, but I came down here, tried it, was like, yeah, no, I'm wearing the glasses. Okay, okay. What are we doing here for stabilizers? Length out the front and weight? Well, we got a 24 out the front with only 2 ounces. You know, I try to keep, my bow's very, very light, feel it. You know, not many people shoot a very, very light bow, but I'm only running about 4 ounces out the back. Okay. And I've got a shorter, only running a 6-inch. Okay. After the injury, I was running a 10, you know, with a little bit of weight on the back, but kind of with this bow, you kind of want everything in.
Sure.
You know, I found that having one V-bar off the left and having everything a little more compact in, it wants to, it's just that shorter axle, the brace height and everything, it just works out better with that one V-bar on the side.
Now, one quick note too that I'm noticing here, even though she's shooting the FX, she's shooting the GTX cams and not the spiral cams on this thing.
Right.
So.
Didn't notice any different. I mean, for me, obviously, with the shoulder, the GTX was the, you know, humdinger there. But the speed, I mean, I'm getting 283 out of it.
Yeah.
So at 42 pounds with a 220 grain arrow, I am getting 283 out of this thing.
That's awesome. Well, there's been more and more people talk about the fact that they're getting the speeds out of the GTX cam that is so much nicer to shoot for them.
Right.
So they're not going to compensate maybe 4 or 5 feet per second faster just to have that harsher draw. And I don't want to say harsher draw, but it is more aggressive. If you're not used to shooting the spirals, it takes a while to get that muscle memory back.
Absolutely, and it's, you know, the spirals you got to hold. You know, you got to hold. You're holding more weight. You know, it's more of an aggressive hold. Than the GTX cams.
Are these a new series of Shrewd bars? Because they look smaller diameter than what you normally see Shrewd bars.
They are the 675s.
Okay.
675s. They do have the newer version of this, which I think is like a 650.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be even lighter, which I'm going to try. But I really like the way that this is balanced for me right now. I was shooting it without a V-bar off the side, and it wasn't grouping as tight.
Sure.
So I think sometimes we think, you know, as women, let's keep our bow light, let's not add a lot of weight to it, let's just go with what we can, you know, group good. And it was grouping good, and as soon as I threw that V-bar on the side, I was like, ooh.
Gotcha.
I saw those groups go a lot tighter.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your rest. It looks like a spot hog, maybe?
Yes, it is a spot hog.
With about a 1922 launcher blade on here.
This is probably, literally, you guys, it has rust on it.
Yes,
like,
yes.
We're not even kidding. This is probably from my youth female days, if I had to guess.
Okay.
But Dad actually makes these blades custom for us.
Okay.
One of his other unique traits. So I'm running a 10,000 feeler gauge off of this, and you know, he punches out them, does the whole nine. So
okay.
I have no problem worrying about looking at that rusty blade.
Gotcha. What are you doing here for your sight setup? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I'm running a 10,000s fiber with the LP light.
What color?
Blue, clear fiber, so it comes out blue.
Okay.
Running a blue optic through there, and then I use Archer's Advantage for all my sight tapes and everything in terms of that. But 31 size, and rocking out the carbon achieved sight. So
Awesome.
As light as I can get this sucker.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, Cara, you had a fantastic finish this weekend. Came in 5th, so you got a top 5 finish already out the gate. I know you're going to make. I talked to you before Vegas when we were at Lancaster. You're making a serious run to get back that Shooter of the Year. You know, you've got now after this. What do you have? Are you doing indoor nationals or no?
I am not. I am going to go shoot the IBO.
Okay, the spring warm up.
The spring warm up, because I got to be looking at 3D targets at this point in the game. You know, I still got snow up to my knees, so I got to be looking at as many 3D targets as I possibly can, even if they are Reinhardt's at the IBO. But I got to go look at them. So we'll shoot that, and then we'll head down to Fort Benning. And I love that tournament. The tournament's always been really good to me. So I'm excited to head there and, you know, hopefully do a little bit better.
Awesome. Hoyt Factory Pro Shooter for a very long time. This is Cara Kelly. Cara, best of luck the rest of the year, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.